This is the case with the West. They developed disproportionately in the area of brutality. They place a great deal of importance and value in violence as a kind of virtue. They think that they can claim the moral high ground basically by throwing someone off of a cliff. So this is just a characteristic that they have. They're violent. And this, again, in my opinion, most likely originates in their rather squalid, harsh conditions. Their so-called civilization emerged from harsh conditions. I mean, Europe is cold. The climate is harsh. There's scarce natural resources. Historically, only about a quarter of the terrain in Europe was arable land. So these are people who were struggling to survive. They had to battle for resources. You know, the modern stereotype of Westerners as being soft and pampered and prosperous and so on. This is truly a modern concept because that has not at all been their history. Material resources became intensely important to them. And whatever means expedited the acquisition of resources, by definition, that was good and admirable. And as I've talked about, the Europeans did not have in their various pagan belief systems any guidance that could enable them to cope with the relative deprivation of their societies. We know that they prioritize the successful acquisition of material resources. And this is the highest good for them. So it doesn't matter for them, it doesn't matter to them that this acquisition is achieved by means of savage oppression, if it's achieved by deceit or treachery or theft. If violence or cunning can succeed, then success is all that matters. If violence and cunning succeed, then it also necessarily means in their minds that peacefulness and honesty are impractical virtues. And an impractical virtue is the same thing as a vice in their mind. In other words, if it prevents you from acquiring resources, then it is categorically inferior and wrong. And that will apply to any real civilized values, whether it's peacefulness or honesty or wisdom or restraint or sacrifice or compassion or honor or what have you. None of these virtues deserve respect in their eyes if they hinder you from conquest and pillage. This attitude would be further cemented by the fact that their approach enables you to conquer and pillage genuinely superior cultures and civilizations who adhere to those so-called impractical virtues. If you were truly better than us, in other words, we wouldn't have your stuff. We wouldn't be able to take all your things. We wouldn't be able to take you over. If your civilization was actually superior, then we wouldn't be able to conquer you. That's the thinking. That's the thinking and that's the message. Their message is, your civilization is undeveloped because we were able to conquer you. And because we were able to conquer you, we are superior. But don't worry, we're here to civilize you now. They have an actual disdain for any values, for any morals, for any principles that impede in any way material acquisition. You can translate material acquisition to, in modern parlance, to productivity. So anything that impedes so-called productivity is belittled or outright despised. Even if that is conscience, even if it's upholding trust, even if it's health, even if it's parenthood for that matter. They have to make you think that any other system of prioritization is archaic and obsolete and backwards, that is incompatible with so-called modernity. And modernity, when they say it, just means sociopathic materialism, which treats moral values and principles as decorative extras that should never interfere with so-called productivity. Their whole so-called civilization developed and has been driven by an obsession with material deprivation, which evolved into a sanctification of anyone who successfully acquired abundant material goods and resources, whoever has amassed wealth. Those people are considered to be the most admired, the most respected, the most important, the most authoritative, the most honorable, the wisest people in society. And thus the whole system of society that they designed is designed to serve those people and to idolize them and glorify them and pay homage to them. From the time of the European warlords to the time of the European feudal lords to now and the lords of business and capital. That's why, for instance, their proof that an economy is healthy and successful is that the economy has produced X number of billionaires. Wealth is the basis of authority. That's how these people think. They want to ensure that everyone thinks that moral values and principles are negotiable and that ultimately they're disposable. Because the only thing that ultimately matters is material success at any cost. It's a marauder mentality. If we abandon all of the traits and the characteristics of our civilization that make it superior, then we will become actually inferior. Because we will have joined a game in which they already excel. the game of violence and ruthless materialism. It's like if an athlete of one sport agrees to compete with an athlete of another sport in that other athlete's sport. It's like if a golfer or a chess champion agrees to compete in a boxing match with a boxer. It's a rigged competition simply due to the incompatibility of the skill sets. And that's the case of the Muslims and people in the Global South generally, who have more mature, more evolved cultures and civilizations, if they agree to play the barbarian game of the West. This is a case of you accepting that the emperor's clothes are actually the most stylish and most luxurious clothes that you can wear. And so you agree to strip away everything that actually makes you elegant and dignified and protected from the elements, and you want to look like the emperor. And at the end of that game, it won't be that the emperor has no clothes. It will be that the emperor has your clothes, even if they don't fit him. And you'll be left there standing naked, like a fool. At which point, the emperor will tell you that you're a naked heathen, and he'll teach you how to dress. That's the game that they want us to play.